Hi guys, welcome back to another 12 by 12 layout and again for my Europe travel album from summer of 2019. We are back in Venice and this was our first half day, the day we arrived in Venice, and we actually stayed off of the main island or whatever of Venice, and we stayed in Burano, I believe it was called. It's where all the glass blowing was done and it was just a lot quieter there. But we took a little water taxi over to Venice proper, I guess, and we went to dinner. And it was golden hour, so we took all these pictures together when the sun was nice and orange on our faces. And it's my mom, my friend Olivia, and I chose. I decided to do a pinky, peachy, corally type of color scheme with pops of gold, obviously, because you need to do gold if it's going to be golden hour themed. That's kind of what I go for with the title. So I use this background paper that has just a bunch of scripty words in gold on a white background. And then I do a wide band of that coral plaid, and then I just kind of layer all the other random paper scraps you can see to my left. And then on the right, I've pulled a few full sheets of paper out too. So yeah, I like to do a combo of using up scraps, obviously, because you want to get use out of those scraps, but also not limiting myself and letting myself use full sheets and stuff too, because it's part of my stash, it's there, it's not going anywhere if I don't use it. So I like to have a combo of fresh sheets and then some recyclable guys. But yeah, this layout took me a long time. I spent a long time on it. And I think whenever I do a lot of paper layers, it takes me a long time versus just embellishments, because those are just stick and go kind of things, whereas paper layers and using border punches and things like that, it all takes a lot more time and care and trimming down and figuring out where things are going to go. So I do a lot of that. And this is also a three photo spread with 3 4x6 photos, which is a lot for me. I feel like they're pretty big photos. And it sometimes is easier to use big photos because they take up space, so there's less room for you to have to deal with embellishing and whatever, but I also find it tricky because I have a hard time figuring out the format. I want it to look natural and not very boxy and plonk, 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 photo, photo, photo. I want it to feel like, I don't know, organic or something. So it was a little tricky. I knew I wanted them to kind of overlap, but then I started matting them and it looked weird and it was a little tricky, but so I used my little notebook paper border punch here, and I did it wrong on the other side, so I had to redo it. But it's not a big deal. I could just tuck the messed up side under the photos. And if you look to that paper on my left with like the splatters on it, that's from when I first got my Mr. Huey's mists, and I wanted to see what they looked like on white paper. But I didn't think about the fact that it would bleed through and kind of destroy that paper, so I wanted to try and use it behind a photo, possibly, and cover up those splatter marks. Because it's like green color mist on the other side, so it looks pretty gross. But yeah, so just working up my layers, and this kind of goes for quite a while. So I sped this part up quite a bit for you guys and then end up cutting a bit of it out because it's just me fussing around with how I'm going to get the layered papers arranged and where they're going to go, and then gluing them down and picking it up, and I kind of struggled here for a bit, but it ends up looking cool. I did this piece where that darker coral color is kind of thinner, it's not all the way wide, and just poking out the top, so it's kind of a wider or taller strip. And you can see I don't border it all the way around those photos. I border it just to whatever side's going to show, which was a different way to kind of save paper, and also use pages where it was a little bit more of a small chunk. And yeah, I just really mess around here with how I'm going to have the photos laid out. Do I want the border paper to overlap or be under the photos? Do I want all the photos touching? I sometimes think it's a little weird when photos are overlapping on just bare naked photos, but then I also sometimes think it's weird when there's like a little bit of a gap between them. So it's just a battle I had, internal battle. And I'm border punching a little scallop to add in. Where do I put that? Trimming it down. It's a lot of going back and forth and being unsure just because it was different. And also this colors were a lot. I was trying to incorporate a lot of different colors, but when you're doing colors that I think that orange and pink in general don't really look that good together, but it made sense for the photo, and I wanted to challenge myself, and I actually just finished, right before I started voice recording this, you can see my green blob there, a different layout where I did orange and pink again, and it works for a lot of layouts for some reason. I don't know. I ended up liking the way it looks, but it just, like, I wouldn't wear orange and pink out. I don't really wear pink clothing in general. As I've said before, I'm not a big pink person. I'm okay with pale pink, but as a rule of thumb, I don't really wear pink. I don't have pink in my room or anything like that for the most part. So it's kind of funny that I use it a lot in scrapbooking. But again, it's a really popular color for scrapbooking, like, products. And that photo on the right, that paper on the right, I fussy cut, and it's just going to magically appear as a little border right here. And I just fussy cut that out. I cut an individual one, and then I made a little strip, which I thought was a fun way of using that paper. It's kind of a geometric heart print. And I really like the way that looks. And it wasn't super difficult to cut because it's all straight angles. It wasn't like going around a floral, which I think is a lot more annoying. But it definitely took me a minute, so I cut that out for your guys' viewing pleasure because it was not a very exciting thing to watch. And then I did a little circle punching as well for some layers in that way. I just wanted to incorporate some of that orange. And then my giant gold doilies. Again, I got these from a party supply store and they didn't have any smaller gold ones, but I loved the super juicy metallic gold paper, so I bought them anyways, and I've used the entire one on a previous layout, but I wanted to incorporate just a touch of it, so I just trimmed the edge of it. I didn't even get into the center part of the doily just to incorporate that, and I ended up doing that again on the top left with a little bit more of that. I really liked that paper. It's this like gold polka dot with an orangey ombre in the background, but I don't think I end up, oh yeah, I do end up using it. I make a little like flag arrow type thing, and it goes right there. But yeah, I really liked that paper, so I wanted to incorporate it because it was really appropriate for the page and the color scheme. And I didn't have any paper that had gold foil on it, I don't think. No, I didn't. So I wanted it to look more of an intentional gold accent as opposed to just a touch of random embellishments at the end. I wanted it to look like the paper was incorporated in that gold color scheme. So I did that, and now, yeah, I cut it like that. I wish it would have showed a little more. I kind of fussed around with it to get it to show, but I was very limited on horizontal space because of how many photos I had. And the back of that just looks ridiculous. I used that washi tape to hold it together, and it only sort of worked. But I end up sticking it down with some double-sided tape because it's really easy. You don't need to use very much of it, and it's really strong when I have a lot of wobbly layers together. I like to use a bit of double-sided tape. And you can see I'm like really out to the edges here. But I made it work, and I think it was cool. It's very different from my previous layouts that I do, my like common style, but it works, I think. And it was cool. It was something different. I really liked the way I used those hearts cut apart. I thought that was a fun touch, and I took myself out of my comfort zone a lot, which is, I think, a good challenge, and I might not repeat this exact style again, but I'll take things from it that I liked, for sure, which is a good way to add to your repertoire. But yeah, after this, we went to a restaurant. We went to Venice to go to this restaurant because it was like dinner time. But after we took these photos, we continued walking over to this restaurant, and it was the best restaurant I think I've ever been to in my life. I overall didn't love Venice. Like, I wouldn't really want to go back there, but I would consider it just to go to this restaurant. It was called Ostario Baccadaro. I'm completely pronouncing that wrong for sure. But I'm doing a layout of us like eating at that restaurant soon, so I'll have it all spelt out for you guys there. And then I was trying to have this show, and it was quite the struggle. I tried using washi tape to stick it down, and it just wasn't working. I don't remember if I used glue or how I ended up getting it stuck down, but I had a hard time with that. But anyways, so we were out for dinner, and it was a good night. We ended up going back to that restaurant another time because it was super good. But yeah, we went and kind of got a little bit of a tease of Venice because we hadn't been around because we just arrived that day. And we walked around, and it was later in the evening, and we walked around once the sun set, and it was really quiet, and we were between all these really tall, old brick buildings, and it was really cool. And then we woke up the next morning and went over again, and it was so hectic, and it was so hot, and there was a million people, and it was a zoo. So definitely don't go in August because it's too hot and too busy. But if it was like quiet and cooler like it was this evening when, more people had gone to bed or left or whatever, we also just like, it's easy to get lost in like these little alleyways, and then all of a sudden you take a turn and you're right in the hub again. And the hub is where it's really gross, and there's a million people and tours and kids, and it's just people bumping into each other, and because there's not like a lot of space, it's a lot of small little sidewalks and alleys and then water. So I definitely think going in like the fall would be probably a lot better. I know a lot of people who love Venice, but we had a little rough of a time there. But that's okay. The food was really good at this one restaurant, so I think it made it all worth it. And then I decided it was too many straight edges, so I took some paper and tore it, and then I tore some more and layered them all up at the bottom left there. And I like that a lot. I kind of wish I would have torn that pink, now that I'm looking at it, that pink, the darker pink top square or whatever above the center photo. I might honestly go back after this and do that because it looks just too, I don't know, it's just sticking up too much, and it's too square, and it's also like the boldest color, and it's really standing out. I don't know, actually I think I might put my title over that, so I don't know if I can, but I might go back and change that. And that's the thing about scrapbooking too, is I don't feel like any of my layouts are ever done. There's definitely ones that are more complete than others, but if I start a layout sometimes and I'm just not feeling inspired, I'll stop and pick it up later. Sometimes I get really excited and find a background paper I think is perfect for a spread, but I'm not ready to do the spread yet, so I'll grab the background paper and maybe some embellishments and just shove them in the page protector for later. Or I'll make a page and then I'll get new embellishments and be like, oh, this would be so perfect for that one spread I did 6 months ago, and I'll go back and add stuff to it. So it's always a work in progress, and I think that helps me feel okay with stopping when I'm working on a page, because it's kind of overwhelming to think, gotta do all this right now and forever be done with it. So I think giving yourself that leniency is a good thing. And then it looks like I'm getting my title together. I end up going with Golden Hour Girls is the title. And I use a bunch of different fonts, letter sticker fonts, to get that written out. And I have a hard time with my travel album because in general, if I'm on a trip and I'm doing a few pages, or like if I, like for my camping trip for my birthday, we were there for like 2 or 3 days. So it was easy to have like camping themed titles. But for my Europe album, I think I have almost 60 pages at least. I've done like almost 30, but I think I'm over 60 pages, and it's hard. First of all, you don't need a title, and sometimes I kind of don't really put a serious title, like a bold one. It'll be like something more subtle. But if you want to do a big title on every page for 60 pages and they're all travel themed, it starts to get redundant. It starts to feel hard to get something interesting. And so I just decided I don't need to have this be Venice canals or an evening in Venice, because I've done that and I'm continuing to do that, and it's not going to be confusing. No one's going to wonder if I'm in Europe or not when this is sandwiched between 30, 60 other spreads about travel, and it's before a different Venice page and after another Venice spread. It's like, it's not going to be confusing, and there's nothing super location heavy about this photo. I mean, yes, we're sitting in front of a canal, but it's more of like we're smiling and taking a picture. It's not that serious. So I thought that Golden Hour was more evident in the spread than it being in Venice. So I went with a more generic, neutral title than a super travel specific title, and I think it was good. It was a good little breakout from what I had been doing. So I spelt out golden in those puffy tile stickers, and then hour in the glitter stickers, and then I go in with these white with gold outlines for girls, golden hour girls. And I'm pretty sure I've used that as a caption on one of my dog's Instagrams before. So that's cool. It's appropriate. Girl dogs, girl people, golden hour, it all goes together. So anyways, I really like that. I like mixing different alphabet stickers together, and I sometimes think it's kind of hard, but this one, it worked out well, I think. And then gold, Heidi Shine. I still have to get more, or not more, a new version of that because my bottle's getting really, really low. So I'm going to try the Liquitex something ink stuff. I've gotten that suggested to me. And there's also some other mists I want to try, but I think I'm going to start with the Liquitex because that sounds like the most comparable that people have suggested to me. And then I'm drinking my tea. I haven't touched it, but I have my tea bag sitting in there, and it was like dripping over the sides of the cup. And so the top right of my page, you might be able to tell, it's a little bit wonky because it got wet. But it's going to be fine. It'll be sandwiched between so many other spreads that you won't even notice. It'll get nice and flattened out. But yeah, so I'm adding a few little embellishments here. I go for 2 paper clips, which is kind of not something I do often. But I thought, you know, why not? And I did some of my little wooden arrows with some gold foil on top. And I've got something else in my hands that I can't see right now. Oh, those guys. I don't know if I use any of those. Maybe I do. Oh yeah, that one says, look on the sunny side. I thought that worked because it was like golden hour, the sun. The sun was in our eyes. We can barely keep our eyes open. That was like a chipboard sticker from a 12 by 12 one. Oh, and then there's an orange, well, it's kind of like coral, little heart with a gold outline, I think. Or maybe there's not a gold outline on that one. And this is a 6 by 12 crepe paper sticker sheet that has a few little hearts I incorporated. Some pink ones, some coral ones, just a few little guys. And then I almost added something else, something to the sun, but it was yellow, and I hadn't really put very much yellow on the page. I think that's it though. So yeah, it was a really different spread for me, but I think it turned out well, and I hope you guys enjoyed. Make sure to subscribe to see some more videos, and happy scrapping!